Hi guys, I'm Trainer Dan, and today we're looking at incline flies. So hitting in on the chest, and it is in on an incline, and surprisingly enough, the incline fly doesn't just kind of isolate the upper chest, because we've got this stretch through the chest. It doesn't work the chest in quite an entire manner. And I would say with an incline fly, it kind of hits the chest a little bit better than a flat fly. You seem to be able to emphasize a real good spread through the pecs. I like that. Through the pecs, that you can then kind of squeeze in nice and effective. So I do really like the incline fly. I'm standing here rather than being sitting on the bench, because I just want to show you my setup. I've got a very, very, very slight incline, so I'm not going too severe. That's kind of pointless. That doesn't work as well. So it's just very, very slight for me. And also, I've got the lower end tipped up on my bench. Now, if you're using a bench and you can't tip that up, tough. You're just going to have to do without it and manage your position. The reason I like to stick this up is because it stops me sliding down the bench when I'm working hard. Sometimes it is just an instinctive reaction, and you'll try and drive your feet into the floor and lift your hips up. We don't want to do that. We want to stay nice and flat. We have some really good posture in there to keep that emphasis on the chest rather than pulling the weight out of the chest. And I'll show you a couple of things that do tend to happen, which sort of eliminates the weight out of the chest, because your body's going to instinctively want to say, no, don't do that. But there was something else I was going to say there, and what was it? No idea, I'm sure I'll remember. So, I'll grab the dumbbells and I'll show you the basic position. I know what I was going to say. I'm just showing you a standard technique. So there are other angles that we can switch with our hands to emphasize different intensities through the chest. I'm just going through a standard, totally bog standard movement with some details to make it perhaps a little bit more effective, okay? So, once you are in on your bench, you shall drop yourself back, get those dumbbells up and start in the center. And then your wrist stability is actually quite important through this. And you don't want your wrists pulling back at any one point. That tends to not help the situation, and for some reason doesn't really seem to hit the chest at all. Get the wrists in line, and you should be able to see them quite well from that position. Make sure your dumbbells are above your chest, okay? Don't have them down here, and don't have them above your head. This is one of the things that I was kind of going to say with the reason I've got this tipped up, because when you tend to slide down the bench, the arms tend to drop backwards, and that is just taking the weight out of the chest. And we want the weight in the chest, no matter what. So keep it lined up above the chest. And what I tend to do is actually inflate my chest upwards and squeeze the dumbbells together so that I know where I've got to feel. And if you've got a reasonably developed chest, you should start to feel that in the pecs already. You can see me kind of doing that as I tense that up there. Can you see that little bit of movement? I really hope you can, because I can feel it. Then from there, slight bend in the elbows. We don't want them locked out. We need a very, very slight bend so we can squeeze these hands together. And then from there, we'll take a nice stretch out. Now maintain that angle with the arms. Don't get into a position where we're here. Let's get that extension out. Might drop your weight a little bit when you're getting a real good stretch out. But it is worth it, because you'll get a really good stretch through that. Keep the hands at the angle, don't tip them away, that'll reduce the weight, okay? And then squeezing them, keeping that chest puffed out, but keep your shoulders back on the bench. Maintain contact, okay? So we're getting a good stretch out, maintain the angle, don't turn, okay? That will reduce weight. So if you see this happening, turning, and then turning in like so, that is reducing the weight out of the chest. If you watch the angle, you want to really fight to maintain that all the way through that range. When you squeeze in and when you're dropping down, what you want to emphasize is on your hands, the contact with this little finger side of your hand, almost supinating, but this is a standard technique, so we're not going to put a supination in at the end. That is a technique, I know, okay, but we're not aiming for that. What we're aiming is maintaining contact there, okay? So as we're dropping back, I'm mindful of squeezing in slightly with those dumbbells, and I'm keeping this side of my hand contacted, and I'm aware of that then when I'm going down, and when I squeeze in, I just keep that pressure there all the way through that squeeze, and it should give you a nice little contraction through the chest. Don't overstretch to the point of something tears. That's silly. You should feel yourself where the stretch is good for you, and with the arms in this fixed position, you should hit it quite quickly. Get that stretch out, feel it in, get that little finger side of the palms in so that you're supinating slightly, keep that pressure on, keep that chest puffed out, and when you get into the center, try and squeeze the dumbbells as well, just to really emphasize that little peak contraction up at the top, and you should have a really good incline fly workout.